In 2025, a television series called Zero-Day Attack aired in Taiwan and immediately shattered a massive local taboo. It depicted a highly realistic, full-scale Chinese offensive against the island. The series depicted a scenario military planners dread most. The attack begins not with a massive D-Day-style beach landing, but with a slow, strangling naval blockade. A swift amphibious invasion carries immense physical risks: unpredictable weather in the Taiwan Strait, localized defensive missiles, and roaming U.S. submarines could devastate an approaching fleet. A blockade requires far less direct combat, minimizing immediate casualties for the invading force. It operates entirely in a military gray zone. By surrounding the island and halting commercial shipping, the blockading navy skirts the threshold of all-out war. It forces a brutal calculation, shifting the agonizing burden of firing the first shot onto the United States and its allies. A rapid military sprint becomes a grueling war of economic attrition. And right now, the West is completely unprepared to fight that kind of war. This fictional premise aligns closely with rigorous military simulations. Recent war games conducted by the Center for Strategic and International Studies modeled exactly how a blockade would unfold. The results revealed a severe timeline. Cut off from international supply lines, Taiwan would exhaust its entire food supply in 2 weeks. Its reserves of natural gas would run dry in 10. Look at the geography of the Taiwan Strait. It is a narrow, easily restricted choke point. With those sea lanes closed, the U.S. government would face an immediate choice: allow a democratic ally to starve, or risk World War III to break the siege. Letting the island fall is an outcome the global economy simply cannot absorb. An intervention would be inevitable, exposing a catastrophic vulnerability in global supply chains. To understand why a distant island demands such extreme risk, we have to look at the economics of modern hardware. This graph illustrates the widening cost gap in the semiconductor industry. While the cost of designing a microchip has remained stable, the cost of fabricating those chips has skyrocketed into the tens of billions. Because building these factories is incredibly expensive, most tech companies adopted a fabless model, outsourcing physical manufacturing. This allowed Taiwan to quietly corner over 90% of the world's leading-edge chip production. These abstract percentages represent physical buildings. The global technology sector, the automotive market, and even advanced military defense systems rely entirely on a handful of specialized facilities located right here. If the Taiwan Strait is closed, the modern technological world stops functioning. Breaking a blockade to secure these factories becomes an absolute economic necessity. Breaking that blockade requires moving massive, highly protected supply convoys across the Pacific Ocean, relying on tactics identical to World War II. To protect merchant ships from torpedoes and anti-ship missiles, a navy needs dozens of affordable, heavily armed frigates to act as expendable convoy escorts. The U.S. Navy recognized this need over a decade ago. Their solution was the Constellation-class frigate program, designed to produce ships quickly and at scale. Today, that program is severely over budget. Bogged down by complex design changes and scope creep, the delivery of the very first ship has been delayed until at least 2029. This failure exposes a deeper decay. American shipyards face a chronic shortage of skilled labor, leaving the country unable to construct new vessels or repair damaged ones fast enough to sustain a major conflict. The broader defense industrial base is already buckling under current demands. Right now, there is a backlog of $18 billion in critical, previously promised military equipment intended for Taiwan. The United States is planning to fight a brutal war of attrition without the domestic industrial capacity to replace its own essential naval losses, let alone supply its allies. To mitigate this crisis, Western governments are spending heavily. Legislation like the CHIPS Act aims to bring semiconductor fabrication back to American and European soil, theoretically securing the supply chain. This diagram maps out that proposed solution, and it reveals a critical flaw. Even if the silicon chips are fabricated in Ohio or Arizona, they still require a highly complex final step called advanced packaging. Almost all of that packaging infrastructure remains concentrated in Southeast Asia and Taiwan. Because of this single choke point, a conflict in the Pacific would snap the entire supply line. Those newly built, multi-billion-dollar Western factories would be rendered completely useless without the final packaging step. An independent manufacturing ecosystem takes decades to build. For the foreseeable future, the health of the global economy remains tethered tightly to the security of Taiwan. This vulnerability exists alongside a ticking clock. China faces severe internal demographic and economic headwinds, creating a closing, dangerous window of opportunity for its leadership to act. In this closing, critical window, mere political rhetoric is not enough. True deterrence requires massive, undeniable physical industrial might. While China rapidly produces military vessels at a massive scale, American naval projects remain bogged down by budget overruns and persistent delays. To defend the microchips that power our future, America must rapidly rebuild the physical manufacturing base of its present. It has to happen before a blockade transitions from a television script into a devastating reality.